So now let's talk about truth values. So remember that statements must either be true or false. In other words, they must have truth values. Let's remember what a conjunction is. If P and Q are statement variables, the conjunction of P and Q is P and Q. P and Q is true when both P and Q are true. P and Q is false when either P or Q is false. And P and Q is false when both P and Q are both false. Now let's talk about disjunction. If P and Q are statement variables, the disjunction of P and Q is P or Q. P or Q is true when either P is true or Q is true. P or Q is true when both P and Q are true. And lastly, P or Q is false when both P and Q are false. Now let's talk about truth tables. The truth table for a given statement form displays the truth values, what we just talked about, that corresponds to all possible combinations of truth values for its component statement variables. Let's see some examples to understand what that looks like. Okay, so let's do some questions that has to do with truth tables. So this says, write truth tables for the statement forms number 12 and 14. So let's do number 12 first. It says the negation of P and Q. So I want to write a truth table for this statement form. What you want to do first when writing truth tables is indicating the most basic components. So I identified the most basic components. They are P and Q. So I'm just going to P and then Q. And then after that, I look at the next most basic component, which is the negation of P. And then I try to find the next most basic component, but there isn't any because I have this negation of P and I have the Q, and the only symbol left is the and symbol, but that and symbol doesn't really have a truth value that comes with it, or I can't put a truth value with the and symbol, so the next column will just be negation of P and Q. And I have only two variables, so one way to write all the possible truth values is to write true, true twice, false, false twice, and then for Q, I would alternate true, and then false, and then true, and then false. And this right here are all the possible true and false combinations possible between these two variables. And then after that, I would see, okay, now they want the negation of P. So P is true, true, false, false. So the negation of P is the opposite of true, true, false, false, which is false, false, true, true. And then after that, I will look at the next column, and now it says the negation of P and Q. Okay, so the negation of P and Q. So false and true is false, because in order, just as a reminder, in order for, okay, so let me put it this way. So true and true equals true. True and false equals false. False and true equals false. And false and false equals false. So this is just a very informal thing I'm writing. I don't think this is actually how you would put like the falses, because, well, it looks like it could be variables instead of truth values. But this idea, the idea I'm trying to say is, if you have two truths, it's the only way for the conjunction to be true. Other than that, it's always going to be false. So true and false, or I'm sorry, false and true is false. False and false is false. True and true is true, because we have two truths. So true and true is true, and then true and false is again false. this is the truth table for this statement form. Okay, now let's try number 14. Okay, now number 14 says P and Q and R. So we want to put down first the most basic components, which are the variables. So P, Q, and R are the most basic components. And after that, we want to see the next most basic component. There's no negation symbols. However, there is parentheses right here. So I'm going to put down Q and R. That's one part. And then now let's look at the whole. So next, now that we have this component, we want to connect that to the P. So then it'd be P and Q and R. Do we have all of the components we need to solve this statement form? We do. We have P and we have Q and R. And Q and R is solved over here. So as we find the truth values for each column, we slowly get to our statement form, or the truth values of our statement form. So this time we have 3 variables instead of 2. So one trick to find all the possible truth value combinations is to write true, 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 true 4 times, false, 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 false 4 times, and then this time instead of alternating, for Q you would write true, true, false, false, true, true, false, false. So you do alternate, but you do it in 2s instead of by 1s. And then for R, you would say true, false, true, false, true, false, true, false, like that. And then Q and R, remember, in order for the conjunction to be true, both statement variables have to be true. So true and true is true, true and false is false, false and true is false, false and false is false, true and true is true, true and false is false, false and true is false, false and false is false. Okay, now we're going to compare P and Q and R. So true and true is true, true and false is false, true and false is false, true and false is false, false and true is false, false and false is false, false and false is false, false and false is false. So this right here is the truth value for this statement form.